Yeah.
What?
Original audio. Up at the top left, with that button, that original.
Hey.
That's
Top
much
left
better.
of what?
This is much better.
Yeah. All right, Chris, I think we'll go with it. Hopefully it'll work.
I hope it works.
Kenny, your face is still in the dark. Put a light on you, a flashlight. Hey,
But
man.
Chris, you should log out now and then log back in at 6:10.
6:10. Okay. Logging out now.
We'll see you in a minute.
Okay.
Hey, man. Thank you.
Are you going downstairs? I mean,
How about that? Is that better?
we're going live on YouTube, everybody. And so if you're watching, click like, subscribe, the bell for notifications. We got a hell of a rock and talk show tonight.
Hello.
You know it.
A hell of a rockin' talk show tonight. We got a legend. We have a legend on the show tonight. And we're missing our Sheila Conlon.
Hey, did you just call Scott Page a legend? It's true.
Yeah.
In his own mind.
No, I said we have legends on the show tonight. That's an all-inclusive. That's an all-inclusive statement.
Hey, Scott.
Yes.
We're live everywhere.
Are we playing the Car Museum Saturday the 4th?
Yep.
All right. So may the 4th be with us, but June the 4th.
June
Hey
the
guys,
4th.
guess what time it is?
Time to rock and roll and talk.
What?
Let's talk.
Here we
Let's talk
go.
about it.
All right, here we go.
The Rock and Talk Show, Beyond Backstage, with your hosts, Norwood Fisher, Kenny Olson, Scott Page, Stephen Perkins, Sheila Conlon, and David Moss.
And welcome to the Rock and Talk Show number 52, the first show of our next season, or the second show. I'm not sure if the last show was the first show of the new season or whatever, but this is the bi-monthly show that dives deep into the entertainment industry, the business of it, the stories around it, the culture, and everything in between. I'm the Moss Man. Let me quickly introduce my co-host. We've got the one and only Norwood Fisher from Fishbone. We got the legendary guitarist over here, the one and only Kenny Olson, Stephen Perkins, Jane's Addiction, and Scotty Page from Pink Floyd, Supertramp, Toto. And we're missing our lovely Sheila Conlon because her son Jack is graduating. Congratulations, Jack. Congratulations, Sheila. Yeah.
Just make sure you do it another day, not on Thursdays.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
It's not the same without Sheila, right? I feel naked without Sheila here. Little scary, right?
Yeah, it's a little too boys club. We need to balance out the
That's right.
testosterone with some estrogen.
We become the blind leading the blind when it's just us.
Guys, we have an amazing show tonight. Like, I'm super stoked. We have one of my favorite musicians in the world on the show tonight, Jorma Kaukonen. But we'll talk more about Jorma in a little bit. But gosh, I mean, I'm in New Orleans, you guys.
Woo.
I'm in the Crescent City and partying hard and having a good time, missing Patty. I wish my lady Patty was here with me, but you know, Eric's not quite as comfy to cozy up with as Patty, but you know, we're making
in the right light.
Eric,
You gotta get away.
Eric, do a walk by. We need
What's great about the Jazz Fest is like not only the celebration of music and food, but it gets everybody in a good mood. And, you know, when you get home, you just want to create something of your own. You know, it's a great place for inspiration.
Absolutely.
Unless you drink too many hurricanes. A couple hurricanes.
You're in trouble. Well, you're inspired to do something with that. I'm not sure what.
Oh, yeah.
It's been great.
New Orleans is so much fun.
Oh, yeah.
It's been great. We had from the moment we got on the plane, it was like a family reunion. Wally Ingram was on the plane with us and we flew out. Wally and I go back, 20 years.
We love Wally.
Yeah. Do you remember 2 weeks ago our guest with the rhythm guitar? I forgot her name. What was her name?
When
2 weeks ago when we had our great musical guests.
We did our New Orleans show.
Yeah. Remember her right
Oh,
hand? Even before she played, I asked her about her rhythm and if it had any second line.
Charlie Wooten and
our Sin Delay. Yeah.
Darshan, thank you for reminding me.
were-
So do you remember I
were so
asked her
good.
about the second line? As soon as she started playing guitar, you actually heard that second line rhythm in her rhythm playing. And I didn't know it would show up that profoundly. But that whole feel is such a Jamaican, Cajun, and African feel infused, of course, with the American roots of French, invasion. Got to have that in there. But it's really an amazing place for music, man. I'm so happy you're there. I'm jealous, actually.
So, hey, Perkins, do you know, was it Bo Diddley that basically got that beat from there? Or is that where it came from?
You know, there's so many rumors on where the rhythms came from, but a lot of it was supposedly passed from Africa through the boats down into the actual cotton fields, and the rhythms stayed powerful through that. And the word jazz, this is not, I wasn't there, but I heard the girls were wearing jasmine. They would dance all night, and the air would smell like jazz.
Ooh,
Wow.
It was Congo Square.
Yeah,
Congo
there you go.
Square,
Exactly.
the birthplace of jazz, right? Like,
Exactly, man.
you
I mean,
know,
I heard it was an aroma.
Well,
one way or another, it was aroma.
let's thank
The
last
jazz is a
guest.
pheromone. Jazz is a pheromone. That'd be a good name for a jazz band.
Let's
pheromone.
pay homage to last week's guest. We had the incredible New Orleans legend Anders Osborne on the show, graced us with an amazing song. And of course, Charlie Wooten and our Sin Delay. Amazing. I'm going to see Anders Osborne tonight, right after this, with Kenny Gradney and Fred Tackett. And they're doing a whole Dead Feet thing. So
whoa, really?
It's going to
That's
be
gonna be
amazing.
killer.
It's going to be amazing. But hey, you know what? I've put together, I shouldn't say Graham, put together a short little clip of the highlights so far from Jazz Fest, and I just want to share them with you guys. All right?
All
All
right.
right.
Here we go. Let's run it. All right. £5, baby. Yeah. And there you have it. There you have
Unbelievable,
it.
like I was there. I felt like I was there.
That's only
You gotta-
day one. That's like day one. That's it.
I know
Are you
that's
gonna
the
see-
tip of the iceberg, bro.
Are you going to see my little brother Dwayne again?
I saw Dwayne. I talked to him last night, and he absolutely wants me to hit him up and wants to join us on the show. And
Great.
also, that was Luther Dickinson. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Luther Dickinson from the North Mississippi All-Stars. But
Yeah.
that was such an amazing, like the audio of that was the last clip. And it was Dwayne Betts and Eric Krasno and Luther Dickinson.
Wow.
And Luther wants to be on the show as well. So amazing.
I can actually smell the jazz.
Yeah. Well, listen, we've
The
got
pheromones are in the air.
we've got an amazing show, and I want to just get right to it because we have a legend on the show tonight. We have
Yeah, we do.
we have the one and only Jorma Kaukonen. Now, Jorma Kaukonen is one of the founding members of Jefferson Airplane. There he is right there, Mr. Jorma Kaukonen. Welcome to the Rock and Talk Show.
There There he is.
Jorma,
Good, my
we were
brother.
just saying, you know, one of the founding members of Jefferson Airplane, Hot Tuna, celebrating 50 years of Hot Tuna, or is it 50 years of the burgers?
It's 50 years of birth. None of these guys here are old enough to remember Jefferson Airplane.
Oh, what?
We all are. Influenced
Not
our
me.
lives. Are you kidding? My gosh, that's like, you know, one of the biggest influences of our lives.
Big time. And hot
Well,
tuna.
Yeah,
thank you.
Get it. Right.
You know, thank you for coming, first of all. And, you know, don't forget the imprint you make. It's a ripple. Even if you think it's a tiny little stone, the ripples go forever across the lake.
Yeah, man.
Forever.
Yeah.
So Jorma, just quickly, we'll introduce the crew.
Sure.
We've got Norwood Fisher from Fishbone right here. We've got Scotty Page, who's played with Pink Floyd and Supertramp and Toto. Stephen Perkins from Jane's Addiction. And Kenny Olson, who I think you guys know each other. Kenny,
Oh,
why don't
yeah.
you tell
That's
us
my
how you
brother.
guys know each other?
I'll tell you a little fun. You know, it was quite
Lay
an
it on
honor
me.
when I first met Jorma because I just moved back from LA when the earthquake hit Northridge. And I went back I was in Detroit. And at the time I was living in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I had to get a job at a music store. I was playing with Scott Ashton from the Stooges and some of Iggy's band guys, Wayne Kramer's old band, basically. And I was working in the music store, and it was towards the end of the day. And I've always been a huge fan of Jorma and seen him many times and seen him done the most amazing shows. And all of a sudden, Jorma just walks in the store, and we just became instant friends. And we went out to eat and invited me to the show. And that last time I saw you, Jorma, we were at Derek and Susan's show in Nashville. And I
Yeah.
remember you you got a picture of me and you and Nora Jones you got to send me.
I remember that. And as a matter of fact, I'll give you my email. Yeah, I remember we're backstage. I'd never met her before, you know, and she's
Yeah.
such a powerful artist. And of course, I love her. She's so petite. It's like,
Oh,
holy
yeah.
moly. Yeah, I remember that. Give me your email. I'll send it to you. I know right where it is.
Yeah, because I remember that one. That was such a great show you did that night. I mean, obviously Derek and Susan, they always have amazing shows. I was still in Nashville at the time, and then when I heard you were there, I was just like, I got to go up and see my brother.
Yeah,
Are you-
as a matter of fact, if it wasn't for Derek and Susan, I probably never would have played the Ryman.
Oh, wow.
That was such a great show. And Nora Jones, I sat there right next to Nora watching you that whole time, and she was just in awe. Like the people that were outside stage for that show watching you, Derek and Susan, it was like it was all eyes on Jorma. You were up there he was up there by himself, because Jorma, whether he's with the band or by himself, will blow your mind. I've seen him.
Thanks, man. I got to get you to write some ad copy for me. I appreciate it.
There you go. Checks in the mail, right? Checks in the mail,
Yeah.
Kenny.
And for those that don't know out there, we're talking about Derek Trucks. And Derek is probably from my point of view, one of the most musical, beautiful guitar players. I mean, that solo on Midnight in Harlem that he plays on that record is extraordinary. The way that it starts and it plays. But yeah, Derek, wow, he's a great player. Unbelievable.
Jorma, was that you played at the Arc that night? Because this was before I started playing with Kid Rock. It was right when me and Kid Rock were getting ready to sign to Atlantic, and that's when was that the Arc that you played?
It was the Arc, you bet. Yeah.
And I've seen
I
you
just
so many times.
played there a couple months ago again, actually.
Right,
That's
on.
a good little gig.
Yeah,
Well,
because
I heard you just played at Carnegie Hall for your 80th birthday and the 50th anniversary, right?
Yeah, so better late than never. I'm actually going to be 82 this year, but the COVID changed all that. But I'll celebrate that 80th birthday as long as, we got Carnegie Hall. I mean, who knew, really? My father would have loved it.
Can I ask
What's
you,
going on?
in the Bay Area before Quicksilver, The Dead, and even Sly, what was going on? Was it what was happening? Was it like beatnik hippie poetry? What was happening before you guys?
Well, that's an interesting thing. We could probably geek out about this for a long time.
Good.
Think about the San Francisco bands and stuff. Like the Jefferson Airplane, for example, is a really strange animal. And actually, had it not been for the airplane, we might not be having this conversation. But, you know, it just was just such an atypical band in the pop world, especially for a successful band back then. The San Francisco scene was completely isolated in a lot of ways. I remember that we all started out. Well, Grace wasn't a folkie, but most of the rest of us were. And we started playing rock and roll and stuff, and the more professional bands showed up from other parts of the world and stuff like that. It was like, holy moly! I mean, they have like, you know, fancy clothes and everything. You know, I mean, the San Francisco
like
bands
Dave Clark 5? Who was fancy to you?
Well, I mean, if you look at any of the, I mean, I remember thinking about, there was this gal named Jeannie the Tailor. She died in that car crash with one of the roadies for Cream. And she did some clothes for us back then. I forget her last name. Just called her Jeannie the Tailor from L.A. But in any case, she remember we were big stars there for about 15 minutes, and I remember she looked at us and she goes, "I got to make some clothes for you guys. You look like farmers and freaks." Because everybody's we're just totally isolated into our own thing, for better or worse.
Yeah,
Wow.
I saw some great photos of the whole scene, and some of them were like dressed to the T's and such style. And like you said, and then you had Pigpen, who was like, okay, he's tough. I don't know who dressed him, but he looks like he just came out of the gang.
Yeah.
You know, I met Pig when he was like 13 or 14, and he looked like that then.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, Pig was always Pig.
That's cool, man. But yeah, I didn't, you know, when you have a guy playing kunga and harmonica and keyboards and he looks like that, you know, you're not kicking him out. You're not asking him in. He's there. I love that about a Frisco scene.
And if you ever get a chance to hear him, I don't remember him playing guitar on stage with the guys or like that, but
No?
he was a master of that sort of monochromatic blues thing. I mean, he was rich. If you ever get a chance to hear one of his recordings, it's good stuff.
Oh, cool.
Wow. What's going on? What's going on with Jorma today? What are you up to?
Well, so right now, I moved from the time we set up the internet here. We're on the stage here, my little stage at the Fur Peach Ranch. Be great to get you guys to come out here and do a show sometime. And
Oh yeah.
I just got off the road for 3 weeks with Hot Tuna. We got to do that Carnegie Hall thing, which was funny. And my wife is lurking in the background there, and she goes, "Tell them about." Okay, so I'm going to tell them. So we played Carnegie Hall with Hot Tuna in '72, and we got banned for life. Now there could be a lot of reasons for this. But I think one of them, well, we were really loud. That was probably one of the reasons. I think we knocked plaster off the wall, and our audience was less than genteel. They're older now, but anyway. So yeah, we just did that tour. Jack and Justin and I are going out with Little Feat later on this year. I mean, you know, like all of us. Thank God we're working again. You know, I mean, before. I'm not the only one to say this, but 2020 was going to be my best year ever. And
We were
That's
same thing. We were about ready to do a whole bunch of great stuff that was going to
we had Jazz Fest going to Europe, a bunch of states over there.
Yeah, we were in the middle of putting that dome was going to go up.
Yeah.
Freaking over at the Queen Mary, all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay, let's back up. What's it like seeing Ginger Baker in person?
oh boy, wow. Okay,
To me,
yeah.
it was Elvin Jones and Ginger Baker. If you want to talk about the expression,
Sure.
You know?
So listening to Cream changed my life in a lot of ways, because in my humble opinion, to hear a trio, I mean, not even talking about their original stuff, but their adaptive stuff from traditional blues.
Yeah.
I can't think of anybody that did it better electric. I just can't. And so I was a big fan. And for some reason, Ginger and I became friends.
What?
I don't know why that was, but we didn't like hang out, but we just liked each other. Ginger Baker and my ex-wife and I went to see the opening night of help me, Vanessa, brain fart, Stanley Kubrick movie, 2001. Yeah, I got it, guys. I'm okay. Okay.
Okay.
Remember, we sat in the front row, And as I remember, now I think everybody was tripping, so my memory it might be fuzzy at this point, but I have a vague recollection of Randy California, the guitar player from Spirit,
Yeah.
getting up, and the screen back then at that time was like a bunch of beads hanging together, and when some 2001 thing was happening, he got up and walked through the screen. That's what I remember.
I got a Ginger Baker story. I got a quick thing, Ginger Baker. We did a television pilot called The Rock and Roll Kitchen, and he was invited along. We had a bunch of guys. Anyway, it was with Keltner and all of us with Keltner. So Ginger came in and he started to play, and he was smoking his cigarettes. And this was in my studio, right? And I got carpet on the floors and thing. And he would just take them and flip his lit cigarettes like this. He's playing, so he's smoking. He flipped them onto the floor. I got all these burn rugs. So he flips this one, and it landed. The engineer is there because we were all in the round. The engineer was in the middle of the room, and it lands in the guy's hair, and his hair starts smoking. And I have to run over that. I'm patting the guy on the head, trying to put his head out. So those are my Ginger Baker stories. He was an interesting guy, very.
To say the least. And last but not least, I was at Winterland where they were recording Wheels of Fire. And back in those days, Owsley, that Owsley was hanging out. And I mean, aside from what everybody thinks about him, and he was also a recorder of some note. And of course, he had always had an opinion about how to do stuff. And I remember and after Toad or one of those songs, he went to Ginger, was coaching him. And Ginger just went absolutely nuts.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Owsley. Wow.
For
those who've never seen Beware Mr. Baker documentary, they should see. It's one of the best documentaries I've ever seen.
Wow.
It's definitely an imprint on you. You know, when I love African drumming and I try to open my ears to all world beat. But when Fela and Ginger started making records together, at least one or two, it just opened my ears to like how if you are a drummer, you can hybrid into any rhythm and imprint it into jazz, rock, reggae. You just have to be open-minded. And Ginger, for me, from being the next Elvin and then playing with Fela, it took me to another level. I'm still inspired by him.
And like Nora or like Jorma, you have like pioneered and been so innovative in your career. It's amazing the things that the songs, your songwriting, your guitar playing, your singing, and I've been fortunate. I know a lot of people, your fans, do know about your incredible like pedal steel playing. Because I remember the first time I heard a pedal steel play with a wah-wah, and the only time I've ever heard a pedal steel play with a wah-wah pedal was you blowing my mind with the fact of taking a pedal steel and a crybaby pedal. And I think you are the godfather of that innovation.
Well, and it was a table steel, it wasn't a pedal, it was a straight steel. I had a pedal steel briefly until I realized it was going to make me crazy. I think, speaking artistically, I think that any of the things that I came up had to do with my inadequacies more than whatever latent genius I would have liked to think about. Because when I was younger, I didn't know a lot of stuff, but I had a certain amount of talent and I just stuck to it, So, I've got, in a normal world, I'd be a great grandfather, but I have a teenage daughter in this one, and she plays music and stuff. And I'm talking to her about it. I said, the stuff that I do today, because I know so much more about it, is much more traditional, really, than a lot of the stuff. And never mind, I'm not talking about the blues stuff, but getting into rock and roll stuff. I would never write a song with 7 parts today. I can't even count to 7 anymore. But back then, for whatever reason, one of the San Francisco things was to write songs that had lots of different parts and stuff, or different types of time signatures. I think we were frustrated by all the great jazz cats that lived there. But anyway, so I came up with stuff in an era, and because of the airplane, I got to be heard. That's the other thing too.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that.
You're because your left hand, your right hand, your finger pick. There's so much about uniqueness but fine, beautiful seasons in your playing. Very, very soulful playing, and you've always known that space, the beauty between the notes. But every time, whenever you've played stuff, but I've always that's why I remember when I was 30 some years ago when we met, I was like, holy shit, Jorma's walking into the music store right now.
Speaking of all your playing, I mean, would you grace us with a tune, Jorma?
Sure.
That would be amazing.
Oh, okay.
We would love that.
Yeah. Like I always say at the end of a show, we had stage fright. We were afraid we weren't going to get to play another song. All right. Let's see what we got here. Well, so here's a little blues thing I've been doing for a long time. Written by a guy named Walter Davis, who's a piano player, and recorded in 39 or 40, I forget. Anyway, called "Come Back, Baby." Well, come back, baby. Baby, please don't go. Way I love you, child. I want the world to know. Well, come back, babe. Let's talk it over one more time. Well, this old world was made one day. Come back, babe. Child, now don't go away. Well, come back, babe. Let's talk it over one more time. Well, come back, baby. Baby, please don't go. Way I love you, child. I want the world to know. Well, come back, baby. Let's talk it over one more time.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing. Thank you.
That's the real deal right there.
Right there. Yeah.
Wow.
That's why we know, man. Wow. Thank you.
Good time. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Jorma Kaukonen.
What's not to like, you know?
Yeah.
It's beautiful. So the hot tuna run that you're doing now with Little Feat, is that just you and Jack, or is it a whole band?
It's an interesting thing, actually. So we've been playing with one of Larry Campbell's production partners. Justin Guip has been our drummer for close to a decade now. And so when we do the electric hot tuna thing, Justin plays with us. So we wanted to do this tour with the guys, but you know, they have a massive electric band. They got all the horn section, all that kind of stuff now. And so what we decided that we're going to do is we're going to sort of play acoustic. Like I'm going to play this guitar through an amp that Jack just gave me. It's a 61 Fender Pro Mint, by the way. That's another story. Anyway, so I'm going to play an acoustic guitar through an amp. Jack is probably going to play one of his acoustic basses. We'll all be plugged in, of course. We know that's going to happen. But instead of the balls to the wall kind of stuff, it'll be a little more articulate. We'll see how that works. And sitting in with the guys, in which case we'll be turning up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can I show you something real quick?
Sure, absolutely. Hang on. Oh yeah, that's our girl.
What is it?
Wow. Look at
What is
that.
it? It's not coming up on my screen.
That's an old Jefferson Airplane shot.
Oh,
man.
right on.
So you guys, Grace, God bless her. She is still as delightfully inappropriate as she ever was. She never lets us down, ever.
Whoa.
Where did you and Jack first meet? Because you guys just seem like brothers.
So we're sort of from the same neighborhood in DC, and I met Jack in '56, but we didn't. I met him through his older brother, who turned me on to blues. By the way, his brother Chick. And make a long story short, I lived in the Philippines for a while because my dad was in the service, but I wanted to do my senior year of high school back in DC, and so I came back, and at that point I'd been playing guitar for a while. And Jack had been studying jazz and was a guitar player in a band. So we started our own band. We've been playing together since 1958.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
You guys are brothers.
Wow.
Absolutely.
That is true soul brother there.
And and we have never had a band meeting ever.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
What about this?
You're-
What about
you're-
this photo? Look at that.
Oh yeah. Oh, well, look at all these whole things. Holy moly. Yeah, that's in LA. That's right. We did
That's
the
in LA?
Hollywood Bowl right after that.
Wow.
That's amazing. Talk
I've
for a
got
minute.
my brother who passed away. Look at this picture he has of everybody in your scene. Look at that.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Wow.
There's Pig. There's the pen. There's Jerry.
So yeah,
My daughter looks at these old pictures. She goes, "You didn't go out dressed like that, did you, Dad?"
I just love it because the movement is music, it's art, it's poetry, it's fashion, and it's just so powerful. Because before that, everything was so boring. It was like, hey, look, we have a washing machine in our house. Oh boy,
Yeah.
come on, you guys turned it up, man. I just love it. Thank you.
One of the
Thank you
things
thank you for everything you've done.
Oh, believe me, my pleasure. That photo you just showed there. One of the things about San Francisco is before the rock thing happened, because there's so many artists and stuff, San Francisco by nature is a small town. And
Yeah.
by the way, you guys will all get a laugh out of this. We moved there, aside from the fact it's a cool place, because it was a cheap place to live back then.
Wow.
That's another story altogether. But the whole community, I mean, this is before the hippies, the community of artists and musicians, whatever, any creative thing you were doing, everybody was very supportive of everybody else, There wasn't a lot of swinging dick stuff, that happens in the music business a lot and all that. I mean, and it was a good scene. It was a neighborhood, a big neighborhood scene.
Where were you during the?
Yes, Vanessa, I said swinging dick.
You know what? And
Hey,
San Francisco retains some of that through into the 2000s. It was some of that. I've always looked at San Francisco for an amazing family of musicians that supported each other.
Absolutely.
I don't know so much about today, but
I mean, you've had such an interesting, kind of, I would say, very historic life in the music scene, in the psychedelic era, and the flower, the peace, love, and flower, and Ken Kesey, and that whole thing, and Osley you mentioned. You have any moments that you can remember that are like, this was a moment that I'll never forget? And I'm sure you have a million of them, but anything you can share?
Well, actually, that's a good question. I guess one is, we always like to do free gigs, some of those free gigs in the park, and I couldn't specify which one, but that was always a really powerful experience. But just moments that I remember, for me, two moments. One, the first, when I saw Cream at the Fillmore, it blew my mind completely. And Janice, and I'd known Janice for a long time. We played together when I first moved out there, before she became a rock singer.
Yeah.
But when the first time I saw her with Big Brother at the Fillmore, I went, yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Wow,
Yeah.
amazing. Let's shift. Talk about your ranch, the piece for
The good old Fur Peace Ranch, so called because it's a fur piece from anywhere. I live in a rural county in southeast Ohio that's got less than 20,000 people in it. Socially distancing for me was really easy during the pandemic. So well, we're sitting here on the stage. Vanessa, I'm gonna stand up and turn around here.
Yeah.
See our little theater here. There's my lovely wife down there.
Hey,
And
Vanessa.
there's the rest of our room. We've got almost 100 acres here, and I fell into it. It's just a lucky story. I just fell into it in the late '90s, and Vanessa thought I'd lost my mind, but around '97 and '98, because we always talked about building a music school, so Vanessa wound up getting financing, et cetera, et cetera. So we have here today. The pandemic, of course, has changed everything. But we've got, how many cabins do we have now?
19 cabins.
19 cabins.
Workshop. Library. Restaurant.
We have a little restaurant, yeah.
200 seats.
Wow.
The theater.
Massage studio.
Massage studio.
Silo. A gallery.
Yes, we have Jorma's. Forgive me, Jorma's Silo-delic.
Sounds like Tommy's summer camp.
Our Silo-delic. We built a silo, and we've got a museum in it, and we've got a store, and I got into the CBD business and all this kind of stuff. Now I got to tell you, since she's right here, lay it on me, guys. Shameless self-promotion. Jorma's CBD, Jorma's rock solid CBD stick. There we go.
That's awesome.
Where do we find that?
Yeah.
At the Fur Peace Ranch Company store, FURPEACE ranch.com. Anyway, so none of this would have happened without my wife. Yes, dear, it's all your fault. Because if it was me, I'd be sitting on a hay bale playing the guitar, and that's how it would have been.
I remember talking to your lovely wife back when you guys got the farm and stuff. Back in the day. Yeah.
So speaking of San Francisco as a cheap place to live back in the day, when we bought this place in '89, we got 126 acres for $32,000. Think about that.
That's insane.
Wow.
That's not happening anymore.
No. It sounds amazing. So is it an actual school? Because my family is this very similar. My family's in the camp business, and we have a camp in the Angeles National Forest.
Awesome.
Where it's more of there's no real theme. It's just a sleepaway summer camp. But Norwood and I
keep talking. I'm getting it.
Norwood and I and everyone involved here on this show, and Flea from the Chili Peppers, we're in the process of building a music school down in South Los Angeles right now.
That's awesome.
Watts Conservatory of Music. So
man. I started teaching guitar when I first moved to California in '62. Cantor, may rest in peace, one of my buddies that got me in the airplane. We were all playing, but nobody was making any money. And he said, "Did you ever think about teaching?" And I went, "No." But I got to thinking about it, so to make a long story short, I've always really enjoyed it. And that magical moment when you're showing somebody and they get it, it's just you know what I mean. Anyway, so I taught at the New School in New York for a while, and I've done a lot of that over the years. So anyway, when we had the opportunity to do this, I wish I could. If it was daytime, I'd walk around. It's really a beautiful part of the country. But in any case, so the pandemic has changed everything. We're doing lots of online teaching right now, as many people are, And in fact, when I'm looking at you guys in the Zoom thing here, it's like Hollywood Squares, only there'd be more guys. The teaching really gives me a lot, makes me a better player. I've had to actually learn what it is that I really do and be able to explain it to somebody.
It's amazing with teaching. I find that that's how I really learned how to play guitar, was starting to teach lessons. I was able to, my brain triggered all the stuff that I had learned that I learned it, but then forgot about it. And then when you teach it to somebody else, that's like when you actually, it's a beautiful thing, because they're learning.
I agree. I totally.
Is your
awesome.
format, is it a nonprofit format? Is it a pay for? How do people get into
It is not we're sometimes not profit, but not by design.
Yeah, right. Well, we decided to start that way just so that we have no.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
But wow, that's incredible. I was with Kenny Gradney 2 nights ago. We were talking a little earlier, and Kenny and Little Feeder family as well. And Kenny was telling me about your ranch. He said he was out there, and he said it was just absolutely incredible and amazing.
There's a lot of this. We live in a big country, and there's a lot of beautiful places. But it's Southeast Ohio is very special. Appalachian foothills. Really, it's a really pretty area. Who knows? Maybe I'll teach a workshop for you sometime.
Come on.
I mean, you know what? We just heard that here on the air. We're going to be hitting you up for sure. 100%.
You know, when you guys were writing music and you do it now, do you have a process, or does it like spark and you sit at piano or guitar and then something happens, or you go, you know what, every morning, 10 a.m., a coffee, a joint, back to the guitar? How does it work with such great knowledge of legacy?
So, sort of coming of writing of age, when I got onto the airplane, I'd written an instrumental called Embryonic Journey that's on.
Yes, one of the best. Thank you.
But that's in a way that's not really writing. You know what I mean? So I'd never done lyrics before. So the people in the airplane always encouraged, most bands fight. I want to get a song on the album. They're always fighting about stuff. Anybody that wrote a song when we did it got the song on the album. And so when I started to write, for me, in order to feel comfortable with it, almost always comes from a guitar thing, So, for example, if I was going, so I go, when I was young, on the street where we lived, my brother and I were 2 distant kids. We shared the same house, we shared the same name, but out on the street we played 2 different games. Mama and Daddy fighting wars of their own, etc., etc. So I stumbled on that little chord thing, which is not incredibly innovative because I've heard other people do it, but it was for me at the time. And once a lyrics manifests itself to me, I just, like a dog on a bone, I'll just stay there until it. Another example is.
Do you know when you're finished? Or do you say, "Hey, I'm finished," or you just go, "Okay, move on"? What do you do?
That's a really frustrating question because sometimes you just got to put a nail on it and walk away. Yeah. Sometimes I need somebody else to tell me you're finished.
Hey, I got a question for you. I've been asking musicians because I'm always curious about this. When you're playing, let's say you're up on the stage, do you ever notice where your attention is? And what I mean by that, am I looking at the audience? Am I thinking about the chords? Am I playing? Am I doing this? Or do I go to a kind of no space? Or like, where are you at when you're playing? Like when you're up on stage and you're playing?
Okay, so I've been wearing glasses since I was like 10 years old. And I can't see without them. I never wear them on stage because I don't want to see what's going on around me. And this is one of the things we talk about in classes too. I mean, all you guys that play will know what I'm talking about. Environment is everything, and each room has a different sound to it, and you play to it in a different way, and all this kind of stuff. So for me, I want to, whatever gig I'm at, because every night's different. I want to get on the stage. I want to realize the sound check will have nothing to do with what happens when the show, other than we know everything works, and just find my space there. It's not that I ignore the audience, because if I get into a conversation with somebody and it says somebody says something funny, I'm there with that. But in terms of when I'm playing, I'm just in my own little bubble.
Mm-hmm. Now, is it on? But are you thinking about your fingers? Are you thinking about the chords? Are you just thinking about the words? I mean, have you ever thought about it? I always fascinate where my head is at. Like when I'm playing and I'm noticing myself sometimes on stage and I'm going, wow, I'm looking at the audience right now, or I'm just playing. Oh, I'm not thinking anymore. You know, those kinds of things. I'm always curious about that.
I watch my left hand when I play, and I can play with my eyes closed, and I don't know why I do that, but I do. I watch my, that makes me comfortable to watch my left hand. When I start to think about what I'm doing, that's not a good place to be.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Interesting.
That's the best kind of, I always said, even like studio or even live, the best performances are the ones you don't really remember because you're in another, zone.
Yeah.
You're in that higher, you're calling
And
those
for
higher
me
spiritual
also, like
powers.
if studio works, a lot of times I need somebody else to weigh in. Sometimes I'm my own worst critic, whatever.
Oh yeah.
And for somebody to weigh in and say, yeah, you're on the right track or whatever, rather than going
you
off.
need that person to point out, because sometimes, like, when they're in your plane, you make that beautiful mistake, and everybody in the control room goes, "Oh, that was so cool," because you hit a note, but it made this really crazy cool sound with the feedback, and you're going in there like, "Oh, and I'm gonna have to punch in that spot or something because I missed a note there," and they're like, "No, that was like the best part of the whole thing."
And you never, that's good. And you never know. I mean, that little blues looking. So yeah. So I remember I was watching TV. I was at the Gramercy Park. Funny you remember shit like this. I was at the Gramercy Park Hotel. I'm watching TV, and I thought and I wasn't paying. And I went, that's a cool little lick. I mean, it's a blatant mistake.
So
and
amazing.
the good news is that I stopped and learned to remember it.
That's why whenever I record and stuff, like I'll be at my house, I'll lay a bunch of tracks. I never listen to it then. I just wait till the next day because of just what Kenny says. You hear that mistake in your head, and when you hear it back, you hear it as a mistake. The next day you listen to it and you go, that was genius, right? Because
exactly.
You'll never be able to duplicate it, but at least you got it that time. And it's like, I mean, I've tried to duplicate some of those beautiful mistakes, and they're not always because you just hear it's a beautiful thing.
We're down to the last 15 minutes of the show, and I just want to say, before we'll say it again, and we're not saying goodbye yet, but I just want to say how much it means to me personally for you to join us on this show. You've been such a huge influence in my life over the years, and I'm glad to finally get to meet you here virtually, and I look forward to when we can meet in person. But at the same time, this is the time where we're going to bring in another guest. We want you to stay. Don't leave.
I'm not leaving.
Hang out. These are some brothers of ours. They're in a international touring reggae band called Arise Roots. And Chris Brennan and Karim Israel, both dear friends of mine, but Chris is part of the crew here and the family and plays with a lot of different people. And we're going to bring them in right now because they're going to sort of take us out with a song. We'll see if they're there. We're bringing them in. They're in the studio in Los Angeles. I'm in New Orleans. You're in Ohio. Sheila.
Also, Jorma, thank you. If you ever need a drummer, I can do my best Ginger impersonation.
I'm sure it'll be fun, guys. I hope we get to meet each other in person and hang out.
Yes.
We have to make sure of that.
How far is the drive from Detroit for me down to where you're at? How far is that?
4 hours.
4 hours? That's
4 hours.
I do that back and forth to Traverse City and Detroit almost every week.
Yeah,
when I'm not in LA with these guys. Yeah, we definitely got to get together like we were talking about and make some more
the good stuff doesn't kick in for about 3 hours. So the fourth hour, you'll just be peaking.
Perfect.
I'm on the 6th hour right now, just saying. Well, we're waiting for the Arise Roots boys. They're here. And in the meantime, we'll just keep talking. You're going to be in Los Angeles. Maybe that's when we'll meet, when you're on tour with Little Feat.
Speaking of LA, we're getting a star on the Walk of Fame. Think about that. Is that hilarious? Yes. It's going to happen in October.
Long overdue. This guy right here, Stephen Perkins, has one on the.
Isn't that something?
We got it October 2013. Jane's Addiction got one, and I go there every once in a while with a little brasso and a rag, and I polish it.
Perfect. That's awesome. I mean, it's like funny. None of us got in this game for stuff like that, but when it happens,
No.
it's
Cool.
That's awesome.
It's
an honor.
fun. It's fun.
Man, well, I don't know what's going on with Arise Roots. There they are.
hey.
There they are. You guys there?
Yo.
All right.
Yeah.
Are you ready? There they are.
There they
They're alive.
are. There they
Are you ready to
are.
arise?
We got Chris Brennan and Karim Israel. How are you guys doing from Arise Roots?
How's it going, man? All is well.
Yeah, we're all good, man. Thanks for having us on, man.
Yeah,
We've been
thank
trying to make it happen for a while now.
So what's going on with Arise Roots right now? What are you guys up to?
In the process of taking over the world.
We need somebody to
Global
do that right now.
domination.
Yorma, did you ever have that
total
feel-
domination.
Did you ever have that feeling of taking over the world, Yorma, back in the day?
I did not.
Me neither.
You kind of did though.
You
That's
did.
that's the
You
art of
kinda
really
just
doing it.
did
It's
it.
not, you know, just doing it is the way to do it.
I forgot to do my evil laugh at the end of that.
Yeah,
So,
excellent.
Kareem and Chris, you guys have been hitting it hard. You guys have been out on the road a lot.
We just got off the road. We did like a whole Southwest tour, Texas, all the Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, all the Southwest stuff.
How was it?
It was great. We had
was
some
good.
good crowds.
Yeah, it was really
How many
good.
how many days a year do you guys do on the road? How many gigs?
It's so different now after the COVID thing. Like that's turned everything upside down.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a hard one to answer, but we're trying to in our quest for world domination, we're trying to whatever that number was, we're trying to double that right now. So that's yeah, man.
Well, you know, if you think about what with me and Kenny and Jorma and Norwood and Scott, we've played almost every little nook and cranny of the world.
I'm sure.
You know, it's great because North Carolina and you know, South Carolina and Fargo and Salt Lake, stuff you never think about. Those are the great shows that you like. You never forget. Whoa, that city was really a cool place to play.
It's so true.
But have you ever stayed at Swingos? Anybody ever stay at Swingos?
Nah, I've never stayed at Swingos.
It
sounds like an amazing story is coming after that, though.
Yeah, come on.
The Rock and Roll Hotel.
Give us more. That's just not enough.
Yeah, I'm intrigued now. I need
Come
to hear more.
on.
No, it was one of those things that I just remember with all the different tours I was on through the years. And I can't remember what state it's in.
Well, how about
we would always end up at Swingos, right? We'd always end
Normal
up
will know too. How many have you guys ever stayed at the Chelsea Hotel in New York?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I knew Yorma would know.
I've heard about
it.
I've heard about the Chelsea.
Yeah, I know. Yorma's written songs in the Chelsea.
I did.
Man.
By the way, as famous as it was, that was not a luxury hotel.
No. And I remember the guy that was working there that night was pretty annoyed with my whole band being there because we were so fascinated with your history and everybody, Jack Kerouac and Sid Nancy. And of course, we were like, it's back in the 80s, and we're being all like, oh yeah, we're at the Chelsea Hotel playing a gig in New York. So we were a little squirrely there.
You got to stay at the Chelsea.
Hey,
now, but before we move on, did you ever stay at the Albert Hotel? Mike, the first time we went to New York, Mike Bloomfield told us you got to stay at the Albert.
Yeah.
It was, I wouldn't put it was an unpleasant hotel. That's all I'm
I
saying.
haven't stayed there, but I think I've heard about it.
The Chelsea was like,
now I got two on my
Albert.
list.
Chelsea was a luxury, 5-star compared to that place.
Chris and Kareem, tell us how you guys came together with Arise Roots. How'd that happen?
Arise was going on before I got in. They started. I had, as you know, David, me and my brother played in Solutionaries, and so we were both kind of playing reggae at the same time. And the guy who was before me, Cheeky's from the Expanders, he was playing guitar.
Yeah.
And the Expanders just started getting super busy. They started like touring like crazy nonstop. So they're just like, yeah, we need to get another guy in here. And Solutionaries was kind of slowing down at the time, you know. So I just got the call, you know. I think I ran into Todd, or I think I ran into Todd at a show, or somebody, Todd, our keyboard player.
Right on.
He mentioned that he needed somebody who could play, and I was like, all right, I'll try it out. And
Chris came in and day one, and it was all she wrote, as they say. After that, it was
killed it.
That was it. He killed it.
He killed it. You guys are lucky. Chris, I've known Chris for 20 plus years. Chris is part of the family, like literally. And I've watched Chris grow and evolve with his brother Sean. And it's just great to see you living your dream and doing it. And Chris, you're such a talented guy. Karim, you're a talented guy. And why don't you give us a little something? Like, let's hear what you sound like.
Yeah,
Rise our roots.
Let's do something.
Yeah, what do you feel like doing? We didn't get to decide what we wanted to sing, but
let's do we can either do a selector or Here I Am, or let's do a Here I Am. All right. This one's called Here I Am.
Sorry, coming through.
Yeah.
Check. Can you guys hear it all right?
Yeah.
Here we go.
As the sun sets in the evening, with your energy, slowly revealing, come close to me, don't fight that feeling, that actions of my heart are speaking. Here I am, ready to love you, girl. Here I stand, so come with me. Here I am, ready to love you, girl. Here I stand, here I am, here I am, basking in your endless essence, patiently, classic in your perfect presence. I can take you there, to a place that no one knows. Maybe we can share a moment oh so beautiful. Here I am, ready to love you, girl. Here I stand, so come with me. Here I am, ready to love you, girl. Here I stand, here I am, here I am, oh,
Yeah, Rise Roots. Chris Brennan and Karim Israel. Rise Roots.
Hey.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Well, man, I mean, we're like out of time.
Yeah.
Hey.
We're out of time, and I'm in New Orleans, and it's just starting. Like it's just, I got to go see Anders Osborne and Kenny Gradney and Fred Tackett tonight. So
that's what's up. That's what's up.
The boys.
That's what's up. Well, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for having us. We appreciate that.
Hey,
Thanks
thank
for the
you.
love.
That was awesome.
Go to Brennan. Go to Brennan's for me, David.
I will.
Go to Brennan's,
right next to Moss Antiques.
That's right.
It's like
what?
His last name's Brennan, my last name's Moss, and right here in New Orleans, there's Brennan's and Moss Antiques right next to each other.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
You're
That's
kind of an
crazy.
antique. You're kind of an antique now, Moss.
I am literally.
Just kidding.
I am.
I love you. Just kidding. I'm an antique too. We're all,
You know, and I wanted
We're
to say thank
vintage.
you for all the companies that supplied the microphones and the micro doses.
Microdoses.
Starting to wear off. It's starting to wear off finally. Woo! Oh man, Jorma, Chris, Karim. Honestly, this has been a very special show. Jorma, I can't wait to meet you in person. We love to come see your ranch sometime and see what you're doing out there.
Yeah,
Moss,
man.
you fly in. You fly into Detroit, and we'll drive down from the D down to see Jorma.
I love it. We'll plan that.
Yeah.
Well, listen.
Pick some nice weather. We've had crummy weather this year.
And I got back from LA just like the other day, and everybody told me how bad the weather was the last couple of weeks. And I was like, but I'm out in California with these guys every month too. So I lucked out last week.
The weather was nice.
AriseRoots.com, hot tuna.
Yeah.
Jorma Kaukonen. You guys don't go away just yet. Hang tight. We're going to play the little closing and then we'll just say goodnight. And on that note, it's just been an amazing show. Our next show's in 2 weeks. We have another very special guest, but we're not going to tell you who just yet. And on that note, here we go.
I know who it is.
Who is it?
See you next time on the Rock and Talk Show Beyond Backstage with your hosts Norwood Fisher, Kenny Olson, Scott Page, Stephen Perkins, Sheila Conlon, and David Moss. Executive producers Sheila Conlon and David Moss. Producer and director Eric Lloyd. Assistant producer and creative director Mark Armentano. Editor Graham Cooper. Theme music by ThinkX. Sponsors IK Multimedia and Lewitt Microphones. Artist Relations TPI Films. Special thanks to From the Earth, ThinkX, The Conlon Company, and Mac. Check us out on YouTube/The Rock and Talk Show, Facebook and Instagram at The Rock and Talk Show.
And there you have it.
Hey.
In 2 weeks.